Well, what day is this? Thursday. Thursday. We've made it so far. You have so many days left, okay? So, this is the time. I know that how many of you just feel like you just can't get clean? Yeah, well, okay, I'm the only one. Thank you. Well, you will have time to do that when you get home. I want you to open your Bible up, turn to John 8, which is in the back of the book. Goes Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, right before, let's see the Bible. Acts. John 8. I have an awesome opportunity to give this message to you. But I just want to say that, whatever I'm saying is, I'm going to try not to bring my words, but hopefully God's words. And, I'm just going to say, Todd, this is something that's dear to me, and I thought of you when I did this, and I think that you'll find something special from this. Okay, can I have a volunteer to read? Go ahead. Let's read John 8 through 1 through 11.
But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. At dawn he appeared again at the temple courts, where all the people gathered around him and sat down to eat them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?" They are using this question as a trap, in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they had no question him, he straightened up and said to them, "Any one of you is without sin, let him be the first to throw a stone at her." Then he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time. Though he was first to tell, only the two left. With the woman still standing there, Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No, sir." "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go now and do your life, sir."
All right, thank you very much. Before we get started, I just want you to realize that this has nothing to do with an adulterous woman. This has everything to do with Jesus Christ. These people were holding stones, not to stone this woman, but to stone Jesus. And when we get started with this, I'm going to start you off with three ways that you can, three tools that you can use to shield yourself against stone throwers. Okay? I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life and where I came from. It might explain a lot. And part of this is I'm not trying to glamorize anything that's bad, but it's just my life. And I'm going to be as transparent as I possibly can for you. But I did not grow up in a Christian home. And my parents were far from Christians. Actually, my whole family, from generations, never knew about God. And they lived it. My mom was on her third marriage. Well, she was single at the time when she met my dad. She was bartending at a bar. They met at a bar. He was traveling through. My dad was a unbelievable football coach. He was on his second state championship in Iowa. And he happened to be traveling through. He met my mom. And they just clicked right off. And they hit it off. And they just started a romance from there. The unfortunate thing is that my dad was still married to a woman and had a family. And things still progressed between my mom and my dad. And eventually she had an accident. She got pregnant with me. And the crazy thing was, this was back in the day, 70s, and the women's lib was just right at the peak of it. So her biggest thought was, well, do I keep this baby or not? There was no one else in her life that was going to tell her otherwise. And she struggled with this. And my sister even told me that she even gave my mom the advice, she should have brought this baby this night before. And, thanks, sis. But this is the thing though. There was a next door neighbor of hers who was a Christian. And she took this opportunity to give her a Bible and said, why don't you name the baby? Maybe you can find a name in the Bible and we'll put the name of the baby right in front of the Bible. And my mom was like, oh, okay. So she looked through And she read through, and she read Ben, and she came to the name Benjamin, and that's what she named him. Then she read through again, and she saw a story about Abram. And Abram, who was without God at the time, and that guy was Abraham eventually. But so she named him Benjamin Abram because she was without God, and that's where she was, and she knew it. And so she named me, and they did that, and something sparked in her, and decided to keep me. She was 40 years old at the time, and so they gave her a procedure called amniocentesis. You may not know about that, but that's when they stick a needle in the mother's womb to take some amnio fluid and to perform tests and make sure that the baby's okay. That needle happened to hit my kneecap and smash it to bits, actually hit my side too. They thought I wasn't going to survive. They thought the baby was going to be gone anyway. And my mom probably didn't carry the way at that time. But something crazy happened in her life. That next door neighbor said, you know, this is just another opportunity for God to work in your life. And something in her heart said, maybe that's so. So she decided to keep me, and in her mind, this is what she told me. She said, you know, if the baby lives, then it's of God. If it dies, then it's meant to be. And I lived. But I was born with a deformed leg, and that's why you see me walking around all limping and stuff. It's not because I'm trying to be cool. It's that's not, no. It is actually because I've had like 20 surgeries, reconstruction surgeries, to correct just one thing that happened to me. My parents eventually decided to get married, but my dad had to leave his wife and his family. Right or wrong, I'm not there to judge my family. This is how it was back then. And so they packed up everything and they moved out in the country. The crazy thing is this, and this is my first point. The first tool that you need to shield yourself against stone throwers is to realize this. Look in verse 3 through 7. It says, the teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought the woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said, Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses commands us to stone her. What do you say? The first point is this. Judgment is everywhere. Judgment is everywhere. You can't run from it. You got to know that. No matter what you do, people are going to criticize you. It's harsh, I know, but this is reality. And I've always tried with my kids always to bring them reality. Even though I'm not good at telling the truth sometimes, I just tell it right off the top. But that's who I am, because reality is that judgment is everywhere. And I know that there's some people right now who are feeling like people just don't treat them like they should. That you may be sitting there and saying,